Hello everyone, welcome back to ReviloPlays Ori and the Blind Forest. Now, it's been a bit of a break since I did that first episode. I kind of played that and then haven't actually revisited the game for a little while. So, just want to remind myself what we're doing here. We're trying to find the Ginzo tree, which appears to be over here. We are, of course, trying to save the forest. That is our ultimate goal. But it looks like we got to go right. So, Hollow Grove. That sounds familiar, like somewhere I need to go. Be careful, Ori. The ground is unstable. I understand. Thank you. Thank you for helping me out, sir. Let's see what's down here. Have we been... I was going to say this hanging thing looked familiar, but I mean, I think perhaps there was just another hanging thing that we came across earlier. Here we go. I mean, I assume we wouldn't have been able to traverse that area if we didn't do that. Okay, that doesn't seem to be breakable. I'm guessing we can upgrade some ability later. Similar situation there. Can we use him? Can he break through that at all? Or no, we had a similar situation at the beginning of the game, didn't we? With that kind of rhino type motherfucker. Oh, please not like that. No, he doesn't appear to be able to break that. So let's just try and kill this guy. Anno, the spirit that died here, was strong and courageous. Listen to his voice. He was able to focus our light. Something tells me we might be able to break that door with whatever this is. Just going to turn my own volume down here a little bit. You've learnt the charge flames. Use this ability to hold X to charge, then release X to detonate and damage everything in proximity. Well, something tells me it's going to be strong enough to get through the door. Lovely stuff. And probably this blue thing over here as well. I do sort of vaguely remember all the abilities from this game. Definitely remember this one. But, yeah, not that well, to be honest. Excuse me. Anyway, I hope you've all been keeping well. You found a large spirit-like container. Spirit light has been added to your gold circle. Find more spirit-like containers to quickly gain ability points. I will. You gain an ability point. Create a soul link. Yeah, okay, we can do that. We have one to spend. Increases the strength of the spirit flame. That seems just kind of generally helpful. Halves the cost of a charge flame. Also generally helpful. I'm not sure any of these seem that useful. This is all just going to be to do with combat. That seems very helpful. Charge dash. Yeah, so let's half the cost of a charge flame so we can get through more because also I assume that can be used. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty powerful against enemies as well, so that's good to have. Yeah, so I hope you've all been keeping well since the last episode. How am I? Well, thank you for asking, first of all. I'm pretty good. It's a really wonderful day here. We've got the sun out. I'm looking forward to going for a walk a little bit later on as my my single outdoor government mandated exercise activity for the day. You know, perhaps you haven't heard, but there is something of a health crisis in the world at the moment. You may have missed it, but it's proving somewhat problematic. And so, yeah, here in the UK, we're on the lockdown is now at the point where we're being urged to stay home all of the time, except for one outdoor exercise activity per day, which is an interesting situation for sure. Went to a shop the other day for the first time in a number of weeks. So my partner and I were fully self-isolating, not even going outside 4-hour walk or anything for a while, because we both had coronavirus symptoms. Thankfully, everything seems to be okay now, all recovered. So we went to a shop maybe the day before yesterday for the first time in over 2 weeks, I think, since we... Oh, I pressed the wrong button. I meant to do a charge flame, and I just saved my game instead. I forgot to turn off the achievements, and that noise really annoys me, but we're just going to have to deal with it for now. So we went to a shop for the first time in a couple of weeks, and it's the first time last time I went out, did any shopping, they didn't have the same restrictions in place. But now that there's lots of markings on the floor to make sure that people in the queue are standing 2 meters apart. An interesting experience whereby the cashier took a large step backwards and asked us to put our stuff down, and then we retreated to our designated, safe place and watched her scan them, and kind of went through the whole facade again. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about this. I of course understand the necessity of social distancing, but it was very much a sobering experience. I mean, actually, prior to that, I hadn't noticed too much difference in my actual day-to-day. The area I live is kind of quiet anyway, so you find the energy cell, you can now collect and use more energy. Remember, you can use energy to create soul link and save your game. The area I live is fairly quiet anyway, so it's not that unusual to look out the window during the day and not see anybody around. Of course, I appear to have died. I was not keeping an eye on my health there at all, but that's fine. We know what we're doing here. So it's not particularly unusual to look out the window during the day and not see anybody around anyway, to be honest. So it kind of never seemed that unusual. Other than the fact of just being in the house myself all of the time. But especially when I was unwell, I felt pretty horrendous for a couple of days. But other than that, it was essentially, maybe a week or so of just feeling kind of under the weather, with 2 days that were particularly poor. So I was fortunate in the sense that I got over the symptoms, assuming it was coronavirus, of course. Now, unfortunately, not able to test that just yet, but assuming that's what it was, I was quite fortunate in that it didn't complicate or anything. But if I had had a bad cold during that time, which is kind of what it felt like. Well, I say that. I mean, I should probably clarify the 2 days which really took me out. I mean, a bad cold is an incredible understatement. It was genuinely incredibly painful just to move, essentially. But I didn't have a fever, and I didn't really have much of a dry cough. So there still exists a possibility in my mind that actually I just had some other ailment. Please jump out of the water, Ori. That's not what we want. But following my having it, my partner got it, and she experienced fairly more traditional symptoms. So the kind of working hypothesis is that we have now both had the virus. But yeah, I mean, my point is, I think if I was ill during those days anyway, if I was unwell, I probably would have been staying at home, and nothing felt that unusual. But then, yes, actually going to a shopping outlet, otherwise known as a shop, is how regular people say that, and yeah, having these kind of markings on the floor and all that sort of stuff. It was a really interesting experience. I've yet to go anywhere and see the kind of some of the stuff that you've been seeing. You see images online of like queues of people. My girlfriend went to a pharmacy at one stage, and she said that the queue there was incredible. It was queued right outside the shop. Obviously, everyone's standing 2 meters apart. I mean, you all know this. You've seen images online if you haven't been places yourself. But yes, there's something very sobering about things like that changing. I think it's the kind of environment that we take for granted in many ways. Now, I imagine if you live in a busy area, if you live in a city somewhere, probably just simply looking outside is the sobering experience for you, and seeing streets being empty. Or, of course, maybe they're not. I mean, we've had in the news today was a story about the police having to get involved and break up parties. And there's been like over 1,000 instances of this just in less than a week in the UK. So yeah, I understand it's your birthday and you want to party like it's your birthday. I do understand that, and obviously historically we have all been publicly encouraged to do exactly that. But times change, and you just got to deal with it, I'm afraid. So now I'm definitely up here to have to use that little rolling man. I'm sorry to assume the gender of that fictional creature. You found a lifestyle you can now retain more vitality. Well, that's pretty vital, I suppose. So I appear to have to use this this green rolling creature, and I've used my incredible skills of deduction to recognize that this here, that's green, and this also green. But what I don't understand is how to get him or her, I'm sorry, it's a real problem, to jump. Let's see. Can I blow them up? That's something worth trying, isn't it, perhaps? If I try and blow them up, no, I can't blow them up, and it actually kills me in one hit. I'll tell you what I should have done is I should have saved prior to that, because we've lost some progress. I mean, that's just the reality of the game, isn't it? We didn't save. And what good is it going to be getting arsey about it? I'll tell you the answer. None. It's not going to do us any good. So let's just move on, You had a bad day. Something. You take one down and you turn it around. I'm an idiot. I was wondering what was going on with my charge shot there. I don't have enough energy to pull off a charge shot. What's happening here? Now, I believe we will unlock an ability later on which allows us to sort of dash through these hanging lantern things. So I think that's probably an area we cannot do anything with at this stage. And of course, there's a crystal up there because the designers are not idiots, and they recognize that if a charge shot is required for advancement, they have to give you the resources with which to perform such a maneuver. So thank you very much to the clever designers at Moon Studios for that. Yeah, that one's annoying. I'm also getting perhaps unduly impatient with that incredibly short animation to show me the large spider's web. Are we to believe that that spider made this? I mean, that's impressive, actually. It's quite good work. And I'll tell you what we should have done is actually we should have climbed and got the energy before, because that's actually just energy that we now are missing and have wasted. But again, you know, it's fine. You don't need to dwell on these things. The game will continue regardless. And of course, that fills our energy gauge to the maximum possible capacity as it is. So everything works out in the end. You just need to stay calm. And, you know, I did tell you, but of course you insist on ranting and raving like a lunatic. Which is, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a character defect. And I'd encourage you to work on it. Okay, so we're in the purple again. And I mean, and we've also jumped. This is, I made some poor choices there. That was a situation of panicking, and everything kind of just snowballing, and of course ending in doom. So, but you know, we are going to learn from our mistakes. I mean, really, video games are about learning from your mistake. If they're about anything, they are about learning from your mistakes. We're not going to be able to get close enough for that, so we will have to take a movement, and we'll follow this down. So, I'll tell you what did us in there, and I do agree that this is a relatively easy section of the game, which we had absolutely no trouble with the first time through, and have now for some reason hit something of a block. But what did us in there, of course, was the knockback effect on an enemies hitting you. So we're just, you know, we're not going to get in our own head about it, because that can sometimes prove more problematic than anything. You know, it's something that is actually very simple. You start overthinking, being too cautious. But we are just going to bait out this one shot, because that's going to allow us the time to find safety and kill the spider. We're going to get this, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do. Just because this section has just been somewhat annoying, we're actually going to save just on the other side of here. Once we're at safety. Nope, actually don't want that. We want to save and then use that to, you see? That was one of those situations in which I was able to project forward what I would have said. And what I would have said would have been, that was very stupid. I shouldn't have collected the energy resource when I had nowhere for it to go, because of course you cannot overfill your energy slots. So I was able to anticipate my mistake there, and that's helpful. That's poor jumping, but that's fine. You know, you get those every now and again. This is a platforming game, and sometimes you're going to miss the jumps. But you know, we'll get our health back there anyway. So it really is. The effect was negligible. Okay, this looks like a mechanism where we're going to need to find a switch to get through there. So we want to find our green rolling friend again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to save. And I'm going to need you to remind me to save at the green rolling friend, because it is the kind of thing I'd forget to do. I mean, as evidenced by the fact that, in fact, I did not do it. Find a mapstone fragment. I'm not sure. I don't believe we got that last time. Okay, yeah, this is the place we've been. Sorry, I sort of lost my bearings a little bit there. Of course, that is a large part of any Metroidvania game. Nope, we actually don't need this. Okay, so apparently pressing Y doesn't stop your charge shot. I mean, I don't necessarily know why it would. That requires double jump, which we don't have. So there's really no reason to buy that right now. So we're actually just going to make our strength slightly stronger to allow for easier dispatching of monsters such as Jumpy McGee here, the Smashy Monkey, Jumpy Smashy Monkey. I believe we've got a different way. And actually something has just come back to me. Something has just drifted into the old memory centers, which, you know, I'm not sure how I would define spoilers for a game like this. So I don't know. You're gonna have to deal with it because I'm gonna talk about it anyway. So the our green rolling friend. Remember we talked about him. I believe the way that we get him to jump, as it were, in order to break open that. Let's just have a look at this map real fast. Let's save the game. And we'll have a little look at this section of the map. I mean, we're pretty close to where we need to be, so I'm guessing we have to go up here and then round. Yeah, so the way that we get him to sort of pop up into the air and break that section of wall, which I was struggling to get him to do, I believe actually makes use of the same ability that I was talking about with those lanterns. I believe you can bash off of him, and I do believe it's called bash. Okay, I've just allowed myself to be killed. You can bash him, and he will, you know, you can send him in a certain direction. So I think that section of the game we actually do not have the capability to complete right now. So I think this is the right way to have come. That's a very long way of saying I think we've gone the right way. Now, I thought I used this map fragment on this thing here. No, that allows you to warp. This is, of course, not a map stone. This is just a portal thing, and those are different. Something I had forgotten. However, I'm now doubting whether this is the right way on account of the fact that I don't appear to have the traversal ability to really do much of anything. Now, this game is, of course, incredibly beautiful. I mean, the art direction, the artist has just done like a really tremendous job. However, those enemies that split up into kind of multiple versions of themselves, they are somewhat irritating because the amount of particle effects that take place in this game mean that you kind of can't actually see when they're all dead. So you just have, I mean, the approach is essentially just to keep mashing the X button until it feels like you might be safe. It's a minor complaint. And, you know, probably most of the complaints with this game would revolve around the combat system. It's not particularly well defined. Okay. We're just going to run past these enemies. I mean, we're taking a lot of time to fight them, and actually we're not really getting anything for doing so. So we're just going to... I mean, you don't need to... You can make that jump, so... We need a jumpy smashy monkey, ideally. Okay, that one hit me. That's unfortunate. You know, that's just the reality of this game. Things can kill you pretty easily. Perhaps more care was required, but you know, it's okay. I made the same mistake again. That one I will accept criticism for. I thought that the previous time I stopped and that was my downfall, but actually I think that the timing is just such that you can't make that. So we're just gonna clear these enemies out as such. You know, I hope you don't mind watching sections be repeated. I certainly don't really mind repeating them. I'm a fairly patient with games, I think. That's not entirely true. I'm going to rephrase that. I am fairly open to repeating things in games. I don't get particularly frustrated by that kind of activity. I am not hugely patient in terms of games taking undue amounts of time in order to do something. I wonder if maybe, in fact, we just come back to this and actually we just need to move on. Okay, that was helpful. Because if we can make this jump here, okay, that looks scary. Run away. Wonderful stuff. Now here, okay. And that's a one-hit kill. So we're going to get up there and we're going to save next to that door because, I mean, can we... I wonder how far we can... No, we're not going to be able to take this smashy monkey all the way over these wee trampoline pads, are we? So... yeah, so, you know, an example of what I'm talking about would be something like Red Dead Redemption 2, a game which I'm sure most people who have played would argue is not only very good. I actually think a lot of people would argue it's a masterpiece, potentially one of the best games of the previous decade. Not a position I share. That's not an opinion I share. I found the game to be quite good, but that is the kind of thing that I don't have the patience for. The endless animations that are all so incredibly detailed, and I understand that it's you know, that they're trying to create something with a certain level of realism. But to be totally honest, when I'm playing a game and I'm a cowboy, you've distracted me now, see, because you got me complaining about another game, which we're not even playing. But I'm going to carry on doing it anyway. So I'm playing a game, I'm a cowboy, and you know, I've ruthlessly murdered a number of people, as obviously all cowboys did. And, you know, the natural thing to do as a person in that situation, in a lawless state, I understand that it's not completely lawless, but for all intents and purposes, would of course be to rifle through the deceased's pockets and take any spare change they happen to have. Now, I of course have no issue with this being the approach that the game encourages. You know, what sane person would not do that? You know, they might have sort of 3 to 5 cents on them that you could put to good use in a poker game in the local tavern. You understand? It's only natural. I also, of course, you know, I don't condone theft. However, I would say that if you've just murdered a person in cold blood, that probably stealing the spare change from their pockets, at this point, you're not really adding to your kind of karmic total. You know, I'd say that is essentially negligible in the grand scheme of your behavior. But in a video game, I don't actually need to see my player-controlled character go through the process of lifting the corpse up, patting it down, taking the change, you know, opening his own pocket, putting the change in, maybe counting. Okay. I'm of course exaggerating for effect, but you understand the point. I don't need that. I'm happy to walk over a neutralized body, press the button that says loot, and have the money just appear into my character's total. I am not so concerned with verisimilitude that I feel the need for that kind of behavior in a video game. I understand, of course, that some people enjoy that. And I suppose what something that bothers me about it on a more fundamental level is that, you know, there was a lot of talk about the horse testicles in Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, the horses have testicles and they shrink in cold weather. Now, I believe that a developer at Rockstar has actually clarified that that was not something that took a particularly long time, and it wasn't like you know, something they were sort of crunching in order to get done. So, you know, take all this with a pinch of salt, I suppose. But can anybody honestly say that their enjoyment of that game, in terms of the way that it plays, was at all affected by the horses having testicles that react organically to the environment? I was going to say I'd wager that that it's absolutely not possible that anybody has that opinion. I'm going to amend that statement to say I do believe it's possible that that very specific feature in the game, I was too close to the explosion, that very specific feature in the game did increase a number of people's enjoyment very slightly. Because the first time they maybe saw it happening, or they'd heard about it, you know, from Kotaku or Polygon or whatever. Excuse me, I had to let go some gaseous build-up. I would contend that potentially, you know, it gave them a chuckle. It's very possible that it gave them a short chuckle. I'm sorry, I was distracted looking at the length of recording, and I didn't see you there, which is dumb because you actually glow red. I've positioned a flask of water on my desk in such a spot as it completely obscured the recording value on OBS. So that was what that slight hiccup was. You know, I'm sure it gave people a bit of a chuckle. They'd heard about it on Polygon or wherever, and then they got on their horse and they were sort of, you know, they took it into a snowy territory, and they were there intently staring at those horse testicles, just to confirm, you know, the veracity of the claim. And, you know, I wouldn't begrudge that of anyone. I'm not a monster. You know, I'm not begrudging anybody the joy of staring at some digital horse testicles. Who could? Okay, so the timing there is a problem. We need to, again, we found ourselves in a situation whereby the first run through that particular section of the game came very naturally, and we completed without too much difficulty. And then upon revisiting it, we've actually struggled a little bit more. And I was going somewhere with all of this. I was going somewhere, but I've kind of distracted myself and got off topic slightly. Yeah, it's an interesting phrase, I suppose, getting off topic, because I don't know that we have an agreed upon on topic, do we? I suppose Ori and the Blind Forest would be agreed upon on topic, but there's not a lot to say on account of the fact that I'm just kind of doing the same section over and over again because I keep making silly mistakes and failing. So, and you know what I notice, and as someone without much experience doing this this gaming video malarkey, is I am very concerned with being careful and taking my time, because I am afraid of people being bored. And you know what? I'm actually going to try and ignore that compulsion, because I think it's quite likely that actually watching somebody complete the same section of a game, or fail to complete the same section of a game multiple times but moving quickly, is more than likely less interesting than watching a person, and as I say that, I die again, despite trying to be a bit more careful there, watching that person complete a section having done so more slowly. So, and having recontextualized the way I think about that particular issue, I think is going to help me going forward. So we're talking about, of course, we were talking about horse testicles, which, I'm sure you all are desperate for me to get back to. I suppose my underlying issue with the heaps of praise that are kind of layered upon games like Red Dead Redemption 2 that are, I'm not going to say that they're not artfully put together, because they are, and the level of fidelity and verisimilitude that game manages to create is simply stunning from a technical level. It is an incredibly impressive technical feat, and I don't think really there's a strong argument against that. But I believe that the level of enthusiasm that people show for that kind of achievement is, in some capacity, dismissive of... Now, I want to choose my words carefully, because I don't believe anybody who particularly enjoys... I'm not trying to say that what I'm about to say applies to you exactly if you find Red Dead Redemption 2 to be a very good game, because it is a very good game. I mean, there's a lot of very clear arguments for it being a very good game, and also, just because I didn't find it particularly fun, and that is, of course, another conversation entirely, is about whether games are supposed to be maximally fun at all times in order to be considered good, which my answer leans towards no, but I also think that is perhaps a theoretical answer on account of the fact that I generally like games that are mechanically fun to play. So, there is a conversation to be had there. Okay, we're gonna make this, I think. We're not gonna make this, but we've baited out the laser, which is the real problem. Can we make it? We've made it. We've made it. We should be safe, and we're here again. We're going to save. That's very good stuff. Okay. That's obviously another conversation entirely. I'm sure we can have that conversation one day. But what we're talking about here is that I think that to assert that is what video games should strive towards is perhaps to dismiss the inherent... Okay. So we've made it up here, and actually this appears to have been the wrong way to go, because there doesn't seem to be anything that we can do. I don't think we can get this rolling thing to make it where we need it to go. I'm as disappointed as you are. I really thought we were going the right way. I thought we had to go up around here. Now, potentially we have to go up further one of these particular routes. Let's try that.